We are live. Thank you. This is Steve Westman, Audiophile Roundtable for Friday. Welcome to the big show with the roundtable panel, or as Nathan likes to call it, the Last Supper, or the Last Supper roundtable. The rectangle table. Is that what it is? Rectangle table?
Banquet hall table.
I'm in downtown Vancouver. You can see it's raining a little bit here. And in the background, you can see right behind my head, point to it right there. This was once the largest skyscraper in Western Canada back in the early 1900s, right behind me. So Mazzy, you and I walked by that building when you were here. So that one right here has a lot of history. And the building that I'm in right now was actually built in 1909. And so it apparently had ghosts in the basement. So I actually went and looked around to see if there's any ghosts. I couldn't see any ghosts. So I don't think there's ghosts. I don't know.
It looks a little like the Texas school book depository.
There you go. Yeah,
Too soon. Too soon.
That was 60 years ago now. That's okay. So anyways, guys, welcome, gentlemen. It's been, a while since I've seen all of you get together for this Friday edition of the Roundtable. I want you to bring some news. Bring me what you guys have been doing this week, what you've been spinning. I asked you to bring some records. We can talk about that in this hour. First of all, the news out of MoFi. Check this out. I know you guys are pretty excited. There it is. Van Halen, One Step, finally, after 2.5, 3 years, it's out, it's coming out, it's shipping. What do you think of that? Anyone, when it start with the Van Halen One Step?
There you go.
Jefferson, Nathan, come on. Anyone?
I'm honestly shocked. I'm shocked that
I look forward to comparing it to
my.
I was just going to say, I look forward to listening to my Kevin Gray from 2009 and my OG.
Yeah,
I'll probably pick it up that one in the first two Van Halen albums.
You should have Melinda Murphy on when that comes out. Seriously, because she's like to Van Halen that I am to the Beatles. Except I don't have Van Halen. I'm not even in my top 100 artists. So
Frankenstein.
Speaking of Van Halen, this is good. So back in 1984, Van Halen had their 1984 concert, 84 album, obviously, and they went and toured. There was concerts. So I found an old ticket. Look at this from 1984. This is Canadian dollars. Can you guys see this up here? This is an old ticket. You could buy 4 Van Halen concert tickets in 84 for like nothing. What was that? $16. Look at this. 16.
Wow.
Was it $14 per ticket back in 1984? And then you would get the tickets mailed to you. So you'd buy them at this attraction ticket office. This is Eaton's in downtown Winnipeg, which is used to be a big old department store, famous in its day. And so this guy here bought 4 tickets of Van Halen in February of 1984, all in for $85 to see the 84 concert. Amazing.
I bought my Exile on Main Street Rolling Stones Winterland ticket for $5.50 plus a 50-cent service charge. What
year was that?
1972.
So this one here is $14 a ticket. So he bought 6 tickets, cost $84.
Wow.
What does George have there? Let's see what you have there, George.
Well, that's a replica of Eddie Van Halen's Frankenstein, the same guitar that's on the cover of that record you were just showing. But this is the next year after that, he painted red over top of the black and white.
So are you going to do the same?
Well, it's already red, so I already have that. So It's already done. It's already there.
Very nice.
In honor of Edward.
There you go. So any other news, any other records you guys ordered this week that you want to tell the audience about?
I just got a new release in, and I haven't listened to it, and I haven't previewed any of it because they've been previewing this for the last few months, and I am a huge fan of this artist. And, of course, I think he's trying to compete with the Atlantic 75 Phil Collins records that are coming out. This is the new Peter Gabriel. Today's the release date. It literally arrived an hour ago. I'll listen to it tonight.
Awesome.
But I tell you, this is a Nadav Kander photograph, kind of artsy with his eye on the finger, very kind of beautiful 2-record set.
Is that Peter Gabriel's eye in the gatefold as well?
Is
that what it is?
It's somebody's eye. My guess it could be his eye. But he did something which I like. He's done this before, where he had a number of visual artists do a illustration or a photo illustration or a painting for every song, representing every song, and it's a pretty substantial book here showcasing it. So I'm a big visual arts freak.
And those are the lyrics as well of each song on the left
lyrics
side?
and all the details.
Okay.
Obviously, been working on this forever. He hasn't had a studio album in 16 years or something, maybe more.
It's been a minute.
Someone will know. But I like Peter Gabriel. I like his aura and his artisanal artistic sense. So that'll be my weekend really deep dive. I haven't heard it yet, and
Nice.
I haven't previewed any of the songs yet.
Nice. What about you, Nathan?
Pardon me?
I was just going to ask the group quickly, has anybody caught the recent Peter Gabriel tour? He had the same artist featured on each song for each performance. It was really good. I really recommend catching them if you can before his tour ends.
Great.
I bet you the tickets are more than $14 a ticket.
You think?
A little bit.
Okay, so now I know Nathan and we've been talking all week. As you know, Nathan does a lot of reviews and posts his reviews of the different records he shoots out and listens to on Analog Productions the fan page on Facebook, Mobile Fidelity Facebook page. Now he finally got around to reviewing. I know we're maybe late to the game. We've talked about this a lot, but you're a contrarian to this whole Asia UHQR to what I've been reading in all the videos I've watched. Would I be correct in saying that, Nathan? Tell me your thoughts.
I don't know if I would go that far, but I actually was intentional and did not post anything for like almost a month. I mean, a lot of times trying to get in early just to kind of give some initial impressions. But I decided to wait this time and just kind of let things, cool down, because everything that I was seeing was very favorable and, didn't seem like there was a bad thing to be said about it. So I just kind of held off and, also gave me more opportunity to kind of dive into it to see like, is this more like a knee-jerk reaction, or is this, like a legitimate feeling after living with it for more than, a day or two. So I guess I wasn't maybe as impressed as others were. And, I'm not going to go into great length because I know Mazzy and George could care less at this point about this album. But, so this is the greatest hits LP that Robert Ludwig did 40 plus years ago. And there's 4 tracks on here from Pretzel Logic, and there's 2 tracks on here from Asia. Now, here's the thing. If this is what you're used to like listening to, like, I mean, I spin this pretty regularly, and you kind of get used to, how those songs sound on here, because this is actually one of the few compilation greatest hits that actually sounds pretty incredible. And in fact, most of the tracks I actually prefer on here than from the OG copy. So where I'm kind of at with this is that, the UHQR is probably the best version to date of the entire album, but yet there's still that part of me that's like, yeah, but the tracks on this, and here's the comparison that I'm going to make. Okay. So this is one of my favorite albums, Upstairs at Eric, and Mobile Fidelity also did their version, which I do not recommend anybody ever listen to this version. This is the version to listen to. Okay. But the best version of the hit song Situation comes from the 45 RPM 12-inch single. So it's the same situation, no pun intended, where when I'm listening to this copy, it sounds great, but the best version of that title track or the hit song track is off the 45 RPM 12-inch single. So my mind, as I'm listening to that, knows that there's a better way to listen to at least that one song. And so that's kind of the way I feel about the Asia, which is if you're listening to the UHQR, it's not that it's awful or terrible or anything, but I can't get around the fact that I know that if I want to listen to the 2 songs that are on that greatest hits, which is Josie and Peg, that this is going to be the way still, even after 40 plus years, that's still the way to hear at least those 2 songs. So that's kind of my thoughts. And I was trying to think of like a word to like describe like my overall like impression of the Asia UHQR. It's just not exciting. it's just not. I mean, I tried it at different levels, and it's not that it's bad. It's not that, there's a lot going for it, but it's just, it doesn't have the excitement to it. So that's just kind of where I'm at. And after my lackluster feeling of Pretzel Logic, I feel like overall, Analog Productions is batting about 500 with the Steely Dan UHQRs. The first two I thought were fantastic, and the last two have been just kind of okay.
Definitely. Yeah. I have something to add on that too. So when Nathan posted that, and I did a review on my channel as well of the UHQR to the Cisco, to the Mobile Fidelity, to the original AB1006. And I prefer the UHQR of those. I really think it has a little something extra. But when you play those two tracks off of this, the Ludwig cut, it's got a little something extra. And from what I know, I think what might have been Bob Ludwig's little secret sauce is he was putting a compressor in and decreasing the dynamic range by 2 decibels, and then bringing the volume up to compensate for that. And because of that, there's it's a little fuller and it's a little rounder sounding. So, and no one can really, once you get to 3 dB, you can't really differentiate that there's a loss in dynamic range at all. So I think that was Bob's, maybe his secret sauce. And I think Doug Sachs, that was something he was doing as well. But yeah, if you have all the single albums, you need to get this too, because this is a great companion piece, like Nathan said. And it's just a shame Bob didn't get to do the single albums.
And the vocals cut through that mix a lot better. When you're used to hearing the vocals that clear and that more present in the room, and then they're backed off and feel like they're just more subdued, it just changes the whole vibe. And that's where that excitement level, for me at least, wasn't quite there. So
yeah, that's where I'm at too. So yeah, that was kind of one of those deals where I was like, well, what was Bob's secret sauce? What was he doing different than anybody else was? And that's kind of talking to some mastering engineer friends of mine. That was something that they brought up that Doug Sachs did.
Right.
It breaks my heart in 1979 when MCA bought ABC and we all got laid off. I had 2 boxes of promo copies of that Greatest Hits at home. So I kept them for about a year or two. Then I finally sold them to a local record store. But it would have been nice now to have those. So
George Borden, anything to add on that with regards to what Josh was just saying about the Greatest Hits? Can you add to what?
It's very, very, very common for a mastering engineer to use dynamics, compression, expansion, whatever is necessary. The idea of, when you're listening to 2 different records, if you use a compressor and you push down on the peak values, you create headroom, and then the whole thing can come up. The byproducts of which, if it's done, appropriately with good attack and release that matches the music, matches the program, it can be a wonderful thing. Overdone, it can turn bad real quick.
So George, let me ask you something about that real quick, since you're on that thought. Do you think that one of the biggest casualties in those situations is like the drum kit, where it doesn't have that lively feel when there's right on that threshold?
Kind of, when applying compression to a drum kit, which you have the potential to do, and this is going to seem counterintuitive, is that you're also altering the performance of the drums, so to speak. If you have a drummer playing right on the beat, for instance, so if you had a click going tick, 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 and the don't chip, it's right on there. What you're hearing is that initial attack of that drum sound is happening right in the beat.
Yep.
Now, if you compress it, you are now taking the moment that the drum is struck and decreasing that and bringing up the ring of the drum, say, after the fact. And what you are now doing is you have the ability to make the drummer play a little bit sounding, potentially to the listener, a little bit farther back in the pocket, right? A little bit behind the beat, if you do it to an extreme. So again, I think every mastering engineer on any given day depending upon a series of choices, is going to possibly make a slightly different, decision. And sometimes, you pull the handle and all the fruit lines up. Sometimes it doesn't. And I'm not saying it's per chance or it's just happenstance, but sometimes it is. It's a series of decisions that actually equal, and again, somebody else in a different situation listening to the same two records might have different opinions about it, but yeah.
But I mean, Pretzel Logic, the drum kit just has this flatness to it that was not evident on the 4 tracks that are off of this. The 4 tracks that are on here have a snap to it. You can hear that hi-hat, that attack. And when you listen to the UHQR, it just sounds flat. It almost sounds as bad as the Daft Punk without drums.
Yeah.
It's that bad. Which, by the way, I hope this doesn't do well, because if the Beatles find out they can make money by reissuing their stuff without a drum kit, they'll do it.
Pete Best might like that idea. Actually, that might be a good idea.
Beach Boys did stacks of tracks way like 50 years ago when you just had the backing tracks. That was a big thing for the Beach Boys. So it's things like that have been done.
Also, a thing to contemplate is that if Ludwig was given a reel that had the individual mixes pulled and strung together and banded together on a new reel, he is now putting different songs before and after each other that weren't the case on the record, and therefore would make different decisions, right? If I had, East St. Louis Toodaloo coming after Peg, as opposed to where those records, those songs sat individually on the original reel for those original records, I might make different decisions based upon what came before it and what's going on after it. That's another heavy duty thing to contemplate, because a lot of the time when a mastering engineer is looking at, especially back then, making a record, you're trying to make the side playthrough. And you make decisions about this song based on what comes before and what comes after, and whether it's crossfaded, stuff like that, just all kinds of things, So, it's just we're fortunate that we have all these choices, and we have these the ability now to even have systems on average that can pick apart the difference of those things, and that's a glorious thing.
Yep.
Awesome.
Nathan, can you comment on Bourbon Street's comment? He said Nathan shared some info on the recall of Cannibal Adderley missing track. Good catch and great info. What's that all about?
Yeah, basically that was supposed to ship at the same time as the One Step, which has already been released. There's already people that got their hands on that. I have not actually heard anybody provide any comments yet on that I'm aware of. But the SACD, I guess at the final moment, got pulled because of a missing track that they realized. I don't know how many copies they're doing of that. I want to say it's like 2,000. They've been kind of tight-lipped on how many copies they're doing lately of titles. I'm sure we all can figure out why that is. But
so this is only on the SAC and not on the One Step, right?
Yep, just on the SACD. Yeah. So whoops. Yeah.
Mine is on its way. This is my #1 all-time favorite jazz record, and this is a Music Matters Jazz. It's great. I don't have the cheap one, the Blue Note classic one, but I did order, and I was asked if I was to do a rant today, and I said yes, but I'm not gonna do a rant, because this kind of leads into it. I don't like to be outrageous, but I did order the copy of the One Step from the In Groove. It's on the way now. It's shipped, because I watched his Thursday morning new releases that comes out. And I was pleasantly surprised. And I got here's a little bit of the rant. I made a comment on that video because Mobile Fidelity, like they did with Thriller, but I didn't think they were going to do it on the double 45s. They're using the thin box.
Yeah.
I jumped for joy. I made a comment on it, and I got responses on that comment, kind of like I'm playing God or something, like I didn't do all this. Of course, it's tongue in cheek. I didn't do that, but I love the idea that someone, quote, listened to me. And of course, I'm joking about that, doing that. Mobile Fidelity is using a thinner, very slim box. So And I'm very curious on that because it's my favorite album and it's double 45. We'll see if the double 45 does more than a 33, a Music Matters Jazz. So I'm excited.
And that kind of came out of nowhere because that's been available for pre-order for at least like 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
something like that.
At least.
Oh yeah,
At least.
Yeah.
Well, I know Nathan. I think that's one of your favorite albums as well. So I know you had that one pre-order for a long time, or you were talking about it for a long time prior.
I've been doing all of my pre-orders now through Elusive Disc because they don't charge you for shipping.
Okay,
cool.
I wish it was like that in Canada for us, but it's not. That's for sure.
There's an Impex record that I haven't heard one person talk about. I pre-ordered it 6 months ago, and it's on its way from Elusive Disc, and it's a record that nobody seems to.
Well, then talk about it. You're going to bring it up.
I don't have it yet. It's on the way, but it's the Youngbloods' Elephant Mountain on RCA Records, and it's a fantastic album. It has a song "Darkness, Darkness," which was covered by Robert Plant on a solo album. It's got Quicksand. I'm really curious about that because obviously we know Impex does great sound. I haven't heard one thing about it. Anyway,
because it's the Youngbloods, that's why.
Well, sounds like a mini.
You know their record. They're
like a
making
mini rant.
Great records. That record's a great record.
Oh, Patrick, you're here. I didn't even see you.
Yeah, I don't think
I
really
snuck in.
can. If you can't stand the fucking Youngbloods, Patrick, and you're gonna hear some like another fucking rock and roll over the top. Now I'm gonna rant here. Over the top.
Bring it on. Come on.
Blow your out over rock like no one gives a shit.
Because you're part of my rant.
Live stream, so you don't like some good music. Anyway.
You're part of my rant. You're part of my rant too. So it's
well, Patrick.
People
first
now
of all,
smile on your brother. Everybody get together.
That's so.
Get that record for 50 cents
That's so
every day.
That's so San Francisco in 1968. That song, right?
Which is why Mazzy is championing it. Mazzy loves
New
it
York.
because it's
They
San
weren't
Francisco.
even from San Francisco.
No, I'm just saying, like, if that's such a Hollywood movie scene. Patrick Piebethal, I asked you to do a rant today. We have a segment for that. I know you have to leave early, right? Is that
I'm going to go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra today.
So you're going to leave early. So we'll do this.
Nice.
We'll get this out of the way because I will tell you, we've had a lot of viewers. I've had personal DMs going, get Patrick to do more rants. So I have to have a segment now. Here it is. Look at this. A Piebethal prattle, I'm calling this.
So
And is that a beer in your hand, by the way? I just noticed
yes,
that now.
no, that's a Dr. Zevia.
That's like, okay. So this is a Piebethal prattle. Here we go.
Where'd you come up with that title? It sounds like something from like the '60s Batman.
So since Melinda Murphy's here, I want to show a great sounding record that no one ever talks about. These records are 12-inch singles. So this is Van Halen promo 12-inch singles for I'll Wait and Drop Dead Legs. This sounds phenomenal. I've really been getting into 12-inch singles. I have the Steely Dan ones. I have the, so don't sleep on 12-inch singles. So with that said, my rant is going to be about cleaning records and the attitudes of people who don't clean records or kind of clean records. And so one of those people is Mazzy. Now, Mazzy has kind of gone over to the dark side and is now cleaning his records. But Mazzy says, I don't clean new records. So I just don't understand the mentality that's like, I'll clean every other record, but one that I just bought that's like got a paper sleeve or been handled. It's got whatever chemicals or residues left on there. I won't clean that thing, even though I have a cleaner that will automatically do it. I got to push a button and walk away, go make a martini, go do a whack-a-mole.
You got to pour the water in too.
Go do something like that. He refuses. He absolutely draws a line in the sand and says, I refuse to clean a new record, which is fine. That brings you to the next kind of person who says, I like how I do it. Well, of course you like how you do it. So you find something better. It's like, I loved how I cleaned records the first 25 methods I had until I found something better. Just because you like what you have now doesn't mean you can't open your mind and maybe go try something else. And these people that say, well, you touch that record, or, hey, you're putting it in an ultrasonic cleaner, it'll damage the records. But those people are okay buying L'Art de Son, Record Doctor, MoFi liquids that have no clue what's in those things. They have no idea what's in that liquid, but they're perfectly fine using that shit. But hey, heaven forbid you put it in an ultrasonic cleaner or get a fingerprint on the son of a bitch. It's like, oh, heaven forbid. So that's my rant, is like, people that talk about cleaning or not cleaning, just step away, okay? If you don't want to clean, don't clean. That's fine.
So that's your prattle? Okay.
That's my
here's
prattle.
what we could do though. We could take anybody that does Anybody that does clean new records, you could take the water after the fact, bottle it up, and we'll send it to Mazzy to drink since he believes it's, you know.
Oh.
Yeah,
Have you
we
ever
don't
seen?
wanna-
Have
we
you
don't
ever
wanna
seen
poison the
that?
guy.
Have you ever seen that water that comes out of there when you were draining it? It's pretty gross.
You know, we were
actually.
talking before about this was like the Last Supper here. Now I believe I'm playing Jesus, and it's Judas down there.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, only in this
Yeah.
regard. Yes.
The new
And
stuff
someone's
is some
going
of
to
the
take that
dirtiest.
fucking seriously, and I'm so, you know.
No, I know they are. They are.
Yeah.
They're going to
Yeah.
sit
Oh
there
my
and say,
God. Can I
Patrick hates
gotta say
everybody
one
who
Okay,
thing?
doesn't
so
clean
so
records.
Maz, do you have a rebuttal for that? Because I mean that was...
My rebuttal is not about Patrick, because I don't
Yeah.
disagree with Patrick. I get it. I'm inconsistent as hell, and that's the way I do it. And I might change at some point. So I have no problem people pointing things out of my inconsistencies. I want to do a shout out now, just because George friggin' Borden,
Yeah.
10 short of 1,000 subscribers, and he promised if he gets 1,000 subscribers, he's going to do a 24-hour live stream. So go we need 10 people in this hour. Can we get 10 people? Go to George
I think-
Borden's channel and
Go right-
subscribe. I know it's
Yeah, we-
off brand right here, but just do it. I'll put a link.
George, are
in
you
the-
crying?
No. Inside.
Yeah.
If you have to do a 24-hour stream, I'd be crying.
There it is. So go to @JH Borden. When we put this up, he had 746 subscribers. That was a while back. So we're close to 1,000. So let's get him there.
Yes, people.
Thanks.
And so Maz, you have one other thing. I think we should talk about it. It's important. It's the Christmas season. It's the holiday season. And if people haven't gotten any of their gifts yet, we have a gift idea for them.
I do?
You do, yeah.
Your T-shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that
Oh my
was part of
God.
the rant that I was going to do that I'm not doing, because that whole thing about the boxes, and we know what the result, but you go to my channel. There is a button at the top you can push for shop. Yeah, I'm doing merch. I'm selling out. Give me a friggin' break. So
Well,
I
know he's retired now. He needs to make money.
get
So
the
this
mug.
is that's your channel right there. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, just go. There's a tab. You can get the mug. You can get the T-shirt, and you can get the sweatshirt for those cold winter nights.
This is a
You
lovely
get a pillow.
gifts. Lovely gifts for
They
Christmas
ship
coming up.
You get a
worldwide.
pillow.
They ship worldwide. Go buy it for your significant other, or buy one and send it to Salina, Kansas, if you decide to.
So, can I show the last of my records before I have to go? Since I pulled them, and pulling records is such a pain in the butt.
Go. Your full
So-
screen.
The next 12-inch single that sounds phenomenal is this Dutch pressing of The Police Wrapped Around Your Finger. It's got a couple extra bonus tracks. Second to the last one, Buckingham Nicks. I know these are hard to find, but this is a great sounding record. Engineered well, recorded well, and a record you can find easily. This is a phenomenal sounding record. This is Mahogany Rush 4. This is pressed at Columbia Santa Maria. All of Frank Marino's albums sound phenomenal. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get good sound or to get a reissue. This thing sounds great. So that's my 2 cents.
And Patrick, before you go, I want to thank you again. I think you nailed it on that shootout last week. I think you should be called the Pinball Wizard now. I think you should be the Pinball Wizard. You nailed it. You knew the pressing, so I was really impressed with that.
I thought I did pretty well. I was like going, yeah, I did all right, man. So I was actually nervous as hell. I was like going, man, if I fail on this, I'll never hear the end of it. So, yeah.
Patrick was texting me all night. He was freaking out about it. Can you just tell me, Steve, what the sources are? I'm like, I can't do that, man. If it's MP3.
I have as a result, I have a UK first pressing coming from Sweden of all places in the mail now.
Nice.
Oh,
Is it
wow.
from Stunty?
So thanks for that.
All right, I got to go watch my guys from Sabotage play some Christmas music. So,
All right, man. Thanks.
so
Take
happy
it easy,
holidays,
Patrick.
everybody. See you
Instead
next
of the
time.
young bloods,
There you go.
Hey, can I just cut in a minute? It looks.
Yeah, Jeff, I haven't heard from you,
comments.
Jefferson. Go for it.
Oh,
What's
that's
going
okay.
on?
I just wanted to say in the comments, according to Nick, George now has 1,000 subscribers. So,
Oh, yes.
Nice.
so Bourbon Street Consultant sub with 4 counts. Thank you, Bourbon Street. Congrats, George.
No, thanks
Awesome.
everybody. Oh, yep, 1005 as
You
we
sound
speak.
so
Whoa.
excited.
Nice.
Well, now he has to do a 24-hour live stream, so that will be fun. When will you start that? We start at like 7 o'clock at night or 6 in the morning. Like, what do you think?
I don't know. Maybe I'll consult with Mazzy over lunch next week when we get together on
We're
Wednesday.
gonna have lunch
and,
on Wednesday.
Yeah.
figure it out from there.
Well, everyone's saying congratulations on 1,000 subs. Wilder. There
Thanks,
you go.
everybody.
Congrats.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank
There you
you
go.
all. Thank you. Very appreciated.
You
one
should
that-
show up to that lunch with one of Mazzy's merch shirts.
I was figuring he'd give me one for free. For
I don't
1,000
I'm not making them
subscribers.
up. They're on demand, but
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it a lot.
I am
do.
packing and shipping
Yeah.
shit.
But we got to get far enough over 1,000 because after my rant, I'll probably lose 10 subs anyway. So let's not count our chickens.
Hang on.
You know,
Are we-
what happens? You
are-
hit that number you want to hit, then like 10 peel off.
So George, are we doing a boil over?
Oh, nice.
We can do it boil over.
Okay, well, go for it.
Okay. I believe that we are talking way too much about mastering engineers these days. I believe that we need to pull back from just speaking. It's like these days, it seems like the only thing that matters is the mastering. And let's just go back to Pretzel Logic. Even if you got the UHQR of Pretzel Logic, you still understand what Ricky Don't Lose That Number sounds like. You still hear the song. You still hear the drums. You still hear the keyboards. You still hear the guitar solo, even if it doesn't sound like the one on, the Ludwig Mastered Greatest Hits, which I also have. You still heard the song, and whereas if you go back to a mix and you remix a song, it completely changes it. Let's look at the I Am the Walrus debacle. You're hearing the last minute of that song is not even recognizable compared to what's been played out for the last 60 years. And so let's not just focus on the mastering, because at the end of the day, we're here to listen to tunes and music and enjoy songs. And I get it. There can be a difference between this pressing and that pressing, but the song remains the same, so to speak. You're still, like, for instance, like the people that grew up in America listening to the Capitol versions of Beatles records, you were still, I Want to Hold Your Hand on Capitol Records. It's a shared experience. We all understand I Want to Hold Your Hand. We all know it, or any other song, Pink Floyd, whatever you want to choose. The different pressings are minutia compared to the tracking and the decisions that were made with mic placements. And we got to remember that, a lot of effort, it's 95% of the job is up to the mix. And then that last 5% can be the mastering, to bring out the little bit of this or to push down a little bit of that. And I'm only saying this to the people that are kind of new to all of this. Don't turn your nose up at, a record that you find in a store. If you really want to hear those songs, you're still going to, enjoy the songs. Just because there's not enough top end or a little lack in bass or too much, it's not going to ruin the experience for you. We're talking about such little tiny inches on the mile, so to speak. Don't let it turn you off when you listen to somebody talking about, well, this press is crap compared to this one. What they mean is that when you compare the two, this one obviously stands out for me in my situation, in my room, on my system, but it might not be the case for you. And don't let it deter you from just enjoying these great records that a lot of people worked on and put a lot of effort into, and not just Ryan K. Smith or Kevin Gray. Fine mastering engineers, so that's sort of my rant. Let's
George,
There
just think of the majority of humans heard the Beatles the way the Beatles did not intend it. Those American reverb-drenched Dave Dexters for the first 4 years, whatever, of the Beatles, those sold more than around the world, the American versions.
Yeah.
And they weren't the way, and we all got used to a lot of us got used to those. So, and we loved them. We didn't bitch about them.
Yeah.
But these are
of
two
course,
totally different conversations.
Well,
You're talking, there's a music lovers appreciation arena, and then there's a audiophile arena. And I understand that there's some bleed over, but when I say something sounds like crap and I don't want to listen to it, I'm not mincing words there. That's really what I think. I'm probably not going to listen to it if it doesn't sound as good as another pressing. I'm not saying that I can't still appreciate the music from it, but if I have the option between the two, I want the one that sounds better.
Well, that's
Yeah.
and that's my point, is that we're going into a realm, and I just want the people that are tuning in to realize that the realm of talking about audiophile stuff, that's when you are nitpicking these little differences. And it doesn't mean, though, that these records are bad in per se, musically, right? It's just we're talking about these little finer points, and a lot of the things that we're talking about, a lot of people are going to not even be aware of. And that's all I'm trying to say. I love to get into it too. I just talked about, I just went and sought out a copy of Tommy. I already got 3 copies of it, but I went and sought out another because it's the best version of it. But it's a record I've been listening to since I was in diapers. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up listening to that record, and then in that way. But even the worst possible copy I have, I can still listen to it and hear the songs and enjoy Pinball Wizard or whatever. That's all I'm trying to say. It's like, when we're talking about these little finite, little tiny bits and pieces, just remember that we're really talking about a small amount of difference compared to, say, if somebody goes back and rethinks the whole thing from the ground up. It's that's all I wanted to say.
Did Uncle Ernie play that for you when you were in diapers?
I had my own turntable when I was about 3.
There you go. George, I was going to ask you, did you get a chance to do that poll last week that I did before our last show with the Pinball Wizard with the 4 different cuts?
I was on the show, dude.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Which one did you pick again?
No, 3. The UK original, and I didn't even know what the choices were. And I didn't, but that third one sounded excellent to me, to the point where, I just went and bought it.
You got okay. So you went and got it after the show. Okay, good. I'm curious to know what you think of that
UK
one.
track, right, George?
The UK track with the numbered booklet, the
Yep.
first pressing. Yeah.
Okay.
Dig it. Yeah. That's it. What George said. I mean, going back to that, it's like, I do these record shows, and sometimes there's not a whole lot of audiophile people there. They're at this level and they just want to hear it. I can go into I can get nerdy on them, but it's going to go right over their head, and it's just going to confuse them in the end. So, and I want more people to be in the hobby. So my job is to not confuse them and help them, bring them along. And if they want to get to where we're at and want to be at this, where we're nerding out about mastering engineers, and then that's cool. But like you said, it is all about the music. Let's enjoy the hobby, and we can be this way, but for everyone else, yeah.
So are we taking some of these shootouts too seriously as well that come up on YouTube and in the vinyl community, and putting too much into that as well? Like, what are your thoughts there?
I don't think that we're taking it too far. I just want the people that are viewing it, because sometimes what happens is when you watch the comments go by and people are like, oh my God, here we go again. Are we going to talk about 4 different versions of this? That's the point of it, is to get that nerdy. That's what this is for. That's what these things are for. But I think all of us would also, if somebody was going to not buy, a classic record like Tommy or something like that, just because we were bagging on the only version that they saw in front of them, and if they have a limited budget and they have to get that repress, I would rather tell somebody, yes, go ahead and spend the $30 instead of seeking out a $150 OG track. If you like the songs, you're still going to get most of the way there, but there's some that are just abysmal, and those are pointed out too. But it's like, I just, I think that there's a place and a time for getting this nitpicking, and that's obviously why this is called Audiophile Roundtable. I just don't want people to dismiss a less than desirable copy in terms of pressing quality. Just, if they don't have it at all. Most of these would do, in a pinch,
But so it's streaming it off of YouTube. I mean, if you just want to hear the song and you don't want to pay any money, you can just go on YouTube and stream a high quality, high res version.
But we're also trying to promote the idea of getting it physically involved with records, and people are doing that. People are going out and buying records. And as me and Mazzy have said a million times, we're old enough to where, when we went down to the record store in the 70s or the 80s, you weren't even contemplating that. It was just, where's the new version of Funkadelic? Where's the new, the latest Aerosmith or whatever? And pulling just, you didn't even sit there and think about it. You just,
the majority of comments I get a lot lately, I mean, I've gotten for a while, but especially lately, are people bitching about the cost of records, the cost of not just audiophile, regular records, or how could you buy that box set, or how can you buy this thing? It's, and especially if they're in Canada or in Europe or something. And there is a thing, about that. And, for so long I've defended like all the people that are, being put to work at the labels and the manufacturing, the designers and the photographers. And I know it's not that simple, and it is. I mean, the cost of everything is crazy, and that's why, people are whacked out on everything. Records just it's a luxury item. And to buy an album, it is a luxury now, where when we were growing up, some of us, it wasn't a luxury. You could buy a $5, a $3 or $4 record, and even if you look at inflation, a $5, $6 record now, that's $25 now. But some people think 25 is too much.
And I can promise everyone that's watching and all the YouTube channels that you watch, not every single YouTuber has every single audiophile record that's being released out there, because no one has that type of money. It's absolutely insane to be basically getting every single UHQ or every single one step and then going and reviewing it with all the other ones that you have. No one has that kind of dough, first of all.
But can I just play devil's advocate for one second? Isn't it also a little annoying when there's channels out there that tell you that every single pressing sounds absolutely amazing and it's a home run and every single one you should buy?
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Well, that's another thing I was going to suggest, is that when we do these like 4 shootout ones, we always pick the one that we think sounds the best. What we should also do is pick the one that's like, avoid this one, to give people a range. Like that's the other thing. It's like we're always just pointing out the best one or coming to some consensus. How about this? Out of the 4, there's usually that one that's at the bottom. Okay, avoid this one, but give it like a kind of it's almost like grading a record, right? It's like if I went out and spent $200 on a track Tommy first pressing and it was a little bit crispy, am I still feeling good about it? Probably not. If I could get one that's a little bit less but clean, and it affords my budget. And that's what maybe it's like, out of these 4, avoid this one. This is the best one. And if you on a budget, always give them an option to what's the best nearest good one that's not $70, That's another thing too. It's just catering to as many people as possible, I think.
And and it's good to have these opinions as well, because for me, I'll say it, I know people have heard it before, but being Canadian, if I get a UHQ one step, when it crosses the border, it's almost a $300 album or record for 10 tracks or 8 tracks. So yes, I think that being said, I'm spending $300. I'm allowed to say how I feel about it, because that's a lot of money for anyone to spend on one album. I'm not buying every single UHQ or one step, and I don't get promos, so I got to be careful how I spend my money as well.
And you also like to see what other people think first, because if you respect their opinion, then you may be more inclined to get it if they're endorsing it, right?
Yeah.
Here's an example. This is the Royal Ballet 45 RPM single-sided.
That's too much. That's too much effort.
Okay, it's just to carry it. I mean, this is the Classic Records original with this little sticker on it. This, I mean, does it sound good? Sounds phenomenal. But you know what? I'd rather just have the LP and listen to the whole thing through. But if you really want to get into the weeds and figure out, some real high fidelity falutin stuff, I don't know why the single-sided thing even came into play. But that's what this is. One song per disc.
Oh.
An entire album in a box,
Supposedly the flat side.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, George. Supposedly the flat side mates to the platter better, and that's why that was the idea behind it. I've never heard a real difference though. I had a couple, but yeah.
And most of
them
them
like 16 LPs in that.
There's what?
How many LPs are in that? 16.
Well, no, I don't think there's 16 tracks.
Because the 45 RPM version is 5 discs.
Let me find out.
Well, if you want to save money, you can always buy the SACD version of that album.
That is the perfect record though for the month of December. Like I play that faithfully, 7, like every December.
8, 9.
That box set.
There's 9.
So you're getting up a lot, George. That's good exercise. You're promoting.
Yeah. I mean, and it sounds fantastic. You know, and then, but every time I see the cover and I realize, oh, it could have all just fit into this,
Yeah.
you know.
They sound phenomenal.
And I'm just trying to point out that I'm not trying to rule myself out of getting into the weeds with certain pressings. I'm just saying, like, this is overkill.
Yeah.
This is
and that's one of the best sounding classical albums out there too. I mean, even the original you can't pick up for less than $1,500, and apparently those sound amazing as well. So I mean,
Yeah, but then follow up with that. This sat in my house for a year because I was selling it for Coffee Dave, but I wanted to hear it first. You all know this, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, single-sided anvil friggin' case, single-sided 45, the entire Led Zeppelin. I hated the way it sounded. There's a couple of okay things. Talk about a waste of money, waste of material, waste of time. And he bought it for like $1,800 or something.
You sold it for $9,000, didn't you?
I sold it for over $9,000. You know, and it's like a huge doorstop. It's a footstool. It's you sit and play your guitar on it. You know,
It's cool.
But for a collector, and if you have a lot of money, I get it. You know, I do get it.
Well,
I have that friggin' Uber box.
I think the Tone Poets is a good thing, right? Because I mean, you're getting a quality pressing, quality production. Obviously mastered quite well by Kevin Gray, and it's $40. I mean, those are the things of the Tone Poets that I really appreciate. I wish we'd see more of that stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be really nice.
You know,
I mean,
now,
I guess Rhino High Fidelity is doing it as well.
Now more than ever, though, the people that, and I understand why people complain, they want the record and it's expensive, and I get that. I totally get that. But there's an option. You can stream. You can do high-res streaming for what, 10, 15, $20, whatever. You get 50% of all the music in the world. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Are you going to sell your records now, Mazzy, and just high-res stream it?
I don't want to do that now. But I mean, the thing is, when we were buying records, you try and wait for the song to come on the radio. We didn't have an option.
That's right.
You know, now there are options. That's why records are considered physical media is a small part of it all.
Yeah.
This is the 33 classic records, and I've seen it go for like $700 on Discogs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even sound that good. It's not blowing my mind.
They're bright.
This is the original classic. And the only reason I bought it was because I went in the store and it was brand new when it came out, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It was like $40 or something when I bought it. I would never seek this out, and it doesn't even sound that good. It's all right.
I think they're a little bright. I have the classic Led Zeppelin 2, and it's good, but it's a little bright. But you know,
I think 3 sounds better than an original. Go ahead, Jefferson.
I was just going to say I have all of the 200-gram classic records, and and I may be in the minority, but to me, they're the best sounding versions out there that you can get, with the exception of 2, which I prefer a Robert Ludwig if you can find one clean. But that's just me. And I was lucky. I bought these like 2006, 2007 before they got completely crazy.
Right.
But I don't have a lot of UK pressings, but I have a lot of US pressings. And to me, it's not even close. But, to everyone to their own. I was just curious.
And that's all that matters. If you like it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, I was curious, man. You didn't like the road case so much, but did you compare any of the other like standard 33 200-gram classic records?
The only one I have not, except for the Led Zeppelin 2. I own Led Zeppelin 2.
Gotcha.
And I don't think the single 45 sounded better than the 2. In fact, I kind of like the 33 better, but maybe I was. You expect so much. It's like holding, the Ark of the Covenant, and you expect it to be more than it is because of that big case. But someone here in the audience said they have the big box and they love it, and that's on their system. Of course, on all our systems, it's going to be different. So, it might be better.
Yeah,
I initially evaluated them before they became insanely expensive too. Like if I was to drop $700 for Physical Graffiti, I might be okay.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like once you pay $700 for that and it comes back in there and you got it, and it's, even though you're kind of going, wow, I could have had this one for 40, and there's a difference, but is it $660 of difference? That's where it kind of, It falls off. It's like I wouldn't turn my nose up at the Pyros Led Zeppelin 2. We actually played both the Ludwig and the Pyros on a live stream, and people were kind of half and half, which one they liked best. So yeah.
That 77 Pyros repress is fantastic, and up until 6 months ago, you could still get it for like $30. So I like a lot of the Pyros stuff.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
Patrick,
which one?
and that comment.
Led Zeppelin 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick
That's
has a comment about his favorite pressings here. I'd like to get that. Let him do a screenshot. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
What happened?
I don't know what's happening.
What happened?
What's happening?
Oh, sorry.
I don't know what's happening.
What was that about?
Patrick had a list of his favorites in the comments, so I just wanted to grab a screenshot of it so I'd have it to look at later.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, right here. You're talking this comment right there.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Sorry about that, guys.
Oh wow.
Porky for houses.
Yeah. I mean, the argument against streaming is that your songs may not be there next week. I get that.
Definitely. And people like they like the tactile, get it out, look at it, put it on, and I get it.
I get it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the road case is cool. It's super rare. I think going back to Mazzy's point, I think that's why it is so desirable. I don't think there's a gigantic difference between the road case single side and the regular 33s. I mean, it's marginal, but to be one of the 500 people that say they have one of the road cases is something for sure. So yeah, but it's cool.
This is a good one. Now, I like that MoFi. Whatever you think about MoFi, they're doing something different. They've done 3 now. Run DMC records. This is their super vinyl. Sounds fantastic. I used to have an original promo of this, and it went away in my mid '90s purge. And if you like, this is that hybrid of rock and roll and rap right before they hooked up with Aerosmith. It's a fantastic record, and fucking great hats too. We got to like the hats. But if you like it, it's just a single, no gatefold. How great is that? 33. It's super vinyl, and it sounds really good. So I recommend that if you like Run DMC. MoFi.
Dig it. Yeah,
someone's saying here, I want to see this comment here. There isn't a giant difference between the new Atlantic 45 and the classic 33 either. That's what Johnny C is saying. Anyone want to?
Of what?
I don't know.
Atlantic 45.
I think he meant Atlantic 75 is what he meant. But
the clear ones, the clear.
I don't know. If you want to just, Johnny, let us know what you mean by that. I'm curious. I saw that comment. I'm like, yeah.
I honestly,
records at this point.
I have some of those
75.
page remasters. And they weren't. I wouldn't, I wouldn't throw it off the turntable. If you want to hear, a whole lot of love, you're going to hear it. If you want to hear Black Dog, you're going to hear it. They're not disgustingly bad.
I have the first 5 of those boxes, and they sound good.
I didn't think they were. They weren't killing me in terms of their quality. So,
I really like the outtakes on those.
This was the best sounding Record Store Day record I got. It's originally was on a single LP. MoFi, I believe, did a double LP, which theirs is great. This is over 2 LPs, the original album. Then it's got a 3rd disc of outtakes and alternates. But for Spilling Over, this is a great album produced by Mitchell Fruma, Los Lobos Kikos. For a Record Store Day, man, it's one of the best sounding records I got last weekend. So
the MoFi is a 33.
Oh, is it? Well, this is 33.
Yeah.
Is this 33? This is 33. Yeah.
Yeah, Los Lobos continually makes good records.
But the sound, it's really good.
Great production.
I have the MoFi too. I didn't do ABM. It sounded as good. Like, I probably don't need them both now, but this is really excellent.
Yeah, that is good. Well, who cut that, Mazzy?
I thought it was Bernie.
We're not supposed to focus on mastering engineers as much, Josh. Didn't you get that memo at the very beginning?
Well, it's about the music, man.
It's the music, stupid, not man. Somebody's been doing chicken scratch this time. I don't know if they're. I don't know if it's Kevin Gray and he's probably watching, or Bernie Grunman or someone else, or I don't remember. To me, the best bang for your buck is Rhino Records. And I'm even talking about their normal releases for the most part. The biggest disappointment was the god-awful sound of the Doors record store day. But it's like a bootleg. So if you like the performance of Bakersfield, terrible. But that's the recording. It's not that it was mastered bad. It's just I'm surprised they didn't warn people about that one.
But did you still
It's
know it
an
was the
archive
Doors?
recording.
Exactly. They should have put an archive recording sticker on it. I'm
Yeah.
giving it to Vinyl Richie because he lives in that area. So I'm sending it to him as a gift.
Right on. I wanted to talk about this one real quick, if I could, since we were talking about records. Kravitz did a reissue campaign here in the last few years for all of his records, and rightfully so. 90s, tough to find, but really you can find a clean one of these for like 50 to 75, and it smokes the reissue. In fact, I think all the originals do. This was only released in Europe. And this is a fantastic record. It's got we've got Slash playing guitar on here, and it's got like some neo soul type stuff, and it was recorded to tape. So if you're looking for a better pressing of this, and you're a big Lenny fan or of that 90s era of Lenny, then man, seek out an original. It's killer. So that's my recommendation.
Wow. That's
The
a good
record. The record before it
I
is
have a
good too.
CD of it. Wow.
Yeah, they all sound good, so
Yeah.
I'm pick that guy up, find it.
Those first three Lenny Kravitz albums are just smoking.
Those are Columbia,
Amazing.
right? Or Sony Columbia, right?
Virgin.
Oh, was okay. Weren't some of his records? Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. Trent's, and I hate to mix up my black guys, the soul psychedelic. Well, weren't they around the same time, that soul psychedelic sound?
They were, Wishing Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wishing Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan, I think you brought one more record before we get to the top of the hour that you wanted to talk about, if I'm not mistaken. It was some DG stuff. I know you're a big fan of the DG cuts these days, so I want you to sort of.
I brought a bunch of stuff today, actually, but I can you talking about this?
I am talking about that one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think there's 11 titles to date or something like that. So this is trying to get focused there. Yeah. So My Fatherland, I just think this is a great, I personally like the music on this. So I was kind of recommending this as like a good kind of entryway into the series if you kind of, are looking for something that's maybe not cliched as much or maybe overplayed. Even the most average classical music listener probably has 10 or 20 songs that they could easily identify, even if they don't listen to it that much, just familiar tracks that you hear all the time. So I thought this would be like kind of a good entryway. The work that they're doing on these, I think, is just incredible. So yeah, this is the latest pickup that I would highly recommend here. So
Nicole, Gaucho Amigo will be released sometime in first quarter 2024. It was supposed to be released December 1st, and it's now been pushed to first quarter Q1 of 2024.
Cool.
So saving money. I don't have to pay for it until next year.
You could buy the Mazzy merch instead for December.
There you go.
Hey,
someone's going to call me on that shit and put a screen grab, so whatever.
Hey, one more thing I wanted to mention too. So I watched the show that you guys did recently, and Jefferson, you kind of inspired me. You were talking about some of the production quality and the focus on just a really good, well-engineered, well-produced album, right? So I've been listening lately, and I've been really just focused on like that component. And one reissue that I have that I think is just, this is something I would absolutely take to demo anything, is the Aaron Neville Warm Your Heart. So this is the Analog Productions reissue.
Okay. Nice.
The track in particular, I Bid You Goodnight, if you wanted to just demo like one track. I mean, the vocals on that, especially with the bass, vocalist on that, I mean, it's just an incredible song. There's just a lot going on this album. Like when you're listening to this, there's like so many things like just happening in that production that you don't even realize. I mean, this is an album that obviously got a lot of airplay, but a lot of the tracks that didn't get airplay, if you just like sit there and just casually listen to it, it's amazing. Just all the stuff that's just woven into some of the depths of the album. So this is one that sounds fantastic, but is still pretty readily available.
Cool.
And I know for a lot of people, they
seek
like
that out.
stuff that has vocals to test out.
Mhm.
So I think this is a good album. And there's very few things from like that early '90s that really kind of stands out typically.
Yep.
Well, there we have it. We go ahead, Jefferson. We're going to add to that.
I'm sorry. I just want to share one album. I brought a couple,
Yeah.
but I just want to share
Yeah.
one that popped up on my radar recently, and it's by a band called The Black Cat's Eye. The name of the album is The Empty Space Between a Seamount and Shock-Headed Julia. Okay. Anyway, you could stream this if I definitely recommend getting it on vinyl. But it's a band out of Germany, and they're kind of all over the map in terms of it's ambient / psychedelic / super early Black Sabbath sounds. I mean, I know it sounds like that's all over the map, but they make it flow, and it's really, really good. So stream it, see what you think, and then pick up the record if you can. I really, really, I mean, it's one of my discoveries of the year for that matter. But if the topic is great sounding, great mixed, great production, that's definitely a good album to check out. That's all.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Amazing. So, guys, top of the hour. This is big for George Borden. He got to 1,000 subscribers. And before we go, George wanted to add something.
Just real quick.
Speech.
These are the originals. They're going to cost too much, but there's some repressings out that are serviceable. They're not as good as the originals, but they're close enough. This is a Non-Such by XTC. It's one of the best albums I've ever heard, ever, bar none. It's Gus Dudgeon is the producer. This is I think 92. This is their follow-up to Oranges and Lemons. Phenomenal sounding record all the way around. And then Hayden Bendel, I think, is on this record. Dave Maddox, Fairport Convention, plays drums on this one. Prairie Prince from the Tubes plays drums on this one. This is recorded partially at Abbey Road, all the orchestrations, and then into a regular studio to finish up, and then eventually in the bass player's garage for vocals. It's a really excellent recording, excellent production, excellent songwriting. Two masterpiece records towards the end of their career.
Apple Venus has 2 volumes, and they're both worth checking out.
Yeah, Apple Wasp Star would be volume 2 of this, and it's more of the pop section, right? It's going to be a double, and then they made it into 2. That's it.
Love it.
What was that?
What?
What was that all about, Josh?
I'm reading the comments. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm back with you. I'm back with you. Love it. Great record.
Is this Michael? What the fuck, Michael? Sorry, I'm going to call you out.
Which Michael?
Was ist das? Geh schlafen.
Yes, Skylarking's a great record. Black Sea's a great record. English Settlement's a great record. XTC doesn't have a bad record, so anybody finds an XTC record, gobble it up. If you're in the 70s, it's going to be quirky post-punk, and then anything after that's going to be just masterpiece.
Yep.
Masterpiece.
Duke's of Stratosphere too. On that point,
Duke's Stratosphere. Yeah. There's nothing that says XTC on the cover, so you got to look for Duke's of Stratosphere. It's like usually completely in a different section unless the record store's in the know and they put it with the XTC stuff. But always check for the Dukes, 25 O'Clock, and Sonic Sunspot, which is a compilation of everything. If you can find that, those are great.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Did you bring any more albums, Nathan? You brought one more, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. The only other thing I was going to mention was if you're looking for something, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but I was just thinking another great early 90s. This is one of my favorite from this genre in terms of sound quality. Is the Cranberries' debut album on Analog Spark.
Oh wow!
I mean, this is not one that most people kind of gravitate towards, but it's ridiculous how good that is. So probably one of the best bass, albums, in terms of just like the bass quality. Like, it doesn't even make sense. You're just thinking like the Cranberries bass, like what? But I mean, it's got everything on it. So it's a good one too if you're looking for something from that era, style, genre, whatever that sounds ridiculous.
Analog Productions, Amused to Death, Roger Waters. That's a pretty good record too. I like this one a lot. It sounds really good. Crazy. Put Your System, Jeff Beck.
Nice.
Monster Jeff Beck.
So everyone wants to know, George, when the 24-hour live stream is going to happen, and how are you going to be able to hydrate yourself and all that? Like, you really got to plan for this over the next week before you start this. I'm a little concerned for your health, and this is a big event. Like a telethon.
We'll be discussing the particulars on Sunday, I'm sure. Which is the live stream, 6 p.m. Pacific, and we'll start discussing when the date will be. It'll probably be a special day that's not the normal Sunday. So go around the clock. It'll be fine.
Excellent. Well, guys, we'll leave it at that. It's been an awesome show. Spin some records this weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Peace,
Take
guys.
care, guys. Take care.
Mazzy?